Awesome. It's good to see everyone. Thanks for joining. We are coming together today to talk about Charting the Life course, and then specifically a tool from Charting the Life course called the Integrated Support Star. My name is Jamie O'Connor. I'll introduce myself a little bit more thoroughly in a minute. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay, and I trust that you'll go off mute or drop a chat if something starts going wrong. But just a short agenda. We're going to go through an introduction. I'm going to give an overview of what Charting the Life course is. Sorry for using an abbreviation, but an overview of what Charting the Life course is. And then the bulk of our time together, we're going to learn more about the Integrated Support Star. Then we'll share where to find those tools, more information, some information about some upcoming Good Life groups that are for parents, and then also have time for questions and discussions. Please don't hesitate to put your thoughts or questions in the chat as we're going through, or to raise your hand during our time together as well. This webinar is put together by Family Voices of Minnesota. And in case anyone here is not familiar, we are a Minnesota organization, a nonprofit family-run organization staffed by parents of children and youth who have a variety of disabilities. We're the state affiliate organization for Family Voices National and the state alliance member of Parent to Parent USA. So we are Minnesota's parent to parent program. So what brings me to present on Charting the Life course and the Integrated Support Star? Charting the Life course is a set of person and family centered planning and concepts and thinking tools. And I come to this work as the parent of a 13-year-old daughter who has a disability. And so really thinking about how to keep her voice at the center of everything that we're doing and all of our advocating, and help her to develop her own advocacy skills, has always had me feeling quite passionate about person and family centered planning. And then I feel blessed that as the outreach coordinator for Family Voices of Minnesota, I've had opportunities to learn specifically about Charting the Life course. So my little badges here are just showing that I went through an ambassador series, like many of us on staff, to learn more about the tools that we're talking about today. And then I also had an opportunity to do training to become a Charting the Life course presenter and a Charting the Life course Good Life Group Facilitator. We certainly are not the only ones in Minnesota using Charting the Life course. And I'll talk more about that towards the end of our presentation about what else is going on in Minnesota. But just, wanted to talk about what brought me here, and then, how I got the information and the ability to practice and use these tools. If you see me looking to the side, it's because that's where my chat and everything is. So I apologize. So let's learn a little bit more. We're, like I said, going to start off just learning more about Charting the Life course in general. This is a brief overview, but Charting the Life course is about all people and also their families. So this slide has the core belief that Charting the Life course was built on, and that's that all people have the right to live, love, work. I'll add learn, play, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. So what is Charting the Life course exactly? It's a collection of person and family-centered life planning materials that was created by families to help individuals and their families develop a vision for a good life. So Charting the LifeCourse can help people with disabilities and their families think about what they need to know at any age or stage of life, including how to find or develop supports and discover what it takes to live the lives that they choose. So it was created to help people and their families explore those life possibilities, also to share their ideas and their hopes and fears, to encourage high expectations. It's really about starting conversations or even having different conversations, sort of getting unstuck, if you will. It is about having life experiences that move us in a desired direction, as well as navigating the future. And it advocates for a vision by integrating all the different kinds of support and really emphasizing not just having a service life. And it can also strengthen our ability to problem solve and plan. So it's more than just a framework or philosophy for people with disabilities. Really, these tools and these concepts can be used for anyone and can focus on all stages across the lifespan. So Charting the Life Course really emphasizes that every person exists within the context of their family and their community. Most people with disabilities are supported by family members as well as their communities throughout their lives. So families have a really important role that needs to be recognized, and families need support in assisting them in raising expectations and creating a vision. So the goal of Charting the Life Course is to really make sure that supports are sprinkled throughout a person's day and not separate from them or their family or their community. Charting the Life Course asks us to start to think about a good life for everyone involved. We can't separate the well-being of an individual from that of their family. So, if we're focused on the individual's well-being and helping them achieve self-determination, interdependence, productivity, integration, and inclusion, we also need to make sure that the family is well supported in ways that maximize their capacity, their strengths, and their unique culture. So Charting the Life Course framework focuses on all people, regardless of age, ability, or family role, and everyone is considered in the vision. Charting the Life Course also helps us focus on the entire lifespan and how our life experiences play into our life trajectory all throughout, and that all people have a right to experience life and have the dignity of risk. So this is really a balancing act that we're getting better at, but it's still common for us with people with disabilities to be overprotective and over-controlling, which in turn can limit their experiences and therefore set lower expectations and cause learned dependency. I think this is a really important piece of Charting the Life Course that I always like to bring up. I'm going to pause and clear my throat. Sorry, guys. So this is what's called a building slide, and I'm going to try my best. Charting the Life Course can seem quite complex, but I think it's because lives are complex, and there's a lot of different ways to look at things. But essentially, the Charting the LifeCourse Nexus has built this framework that acknowledges that you have an individual person and they exist within the context of their family and community. That we all have a lot of interrelated life domains, meaning there's our social life, sort of our daily work or school life. There's community living, a focus on like safety and security, advocacy and engagement, and healthy living. So we have a lot of life domains that are all interrelated. There are sort of 3 areas of support that we all need. We need to learn more and discover how to navigate our lives and what we want to do. We need connection and networking. And we need basic goods and services, so food, a home, transportation, things like that. And then we're coming together today to do a deeper dive on the integrated support star, which is what this outer ring and these star points are nodding to, but breaking down areas of support into 5 different categories that we're going to get into shortly. And then that the life stages all build on each other, and our life experiences during any particular stage can put us on a trajectory towards our vision for a good life, or can get in the way. So that's the just to give you some perspective real quick about what's happening with Charting the Life Course, though, in Minnesota. There's really a growing movement here to learn about these tools and to use them and to have some shared language. In Minnesota, I think there are nearly 100 ambassadors. So those are people that took a specific training from Charting the Life Course that's pretty intensive. And individuals who are ambassadors in Minnesota include family leaders, include professionals in state systems and community organizations, schools, and I'm sure I'm missing some. There's also a community of practice called the Minnesota Connect Group, which is a group of us just trying to organize events and efforts towards getting these tools and ideas out there into Minnesota. So with that, I'll take a pause before we move on to the integrated support star. I always hate to dive into a tool without a little bit of context, but I know that's a lot. So are there any questions or comments before we move on? I also welcome any of you who are familiar with Charting the Life Course already to add anything that maybe I skipped over. All right, well, I will move this along, but again, don't hesitate to put something in the chat or raise your hand. So our focus today and what I really wanted to share about is the integrated support star, which is one particular, as you saw, one particular component of Charting the Life Course. And the integrated support star just says, you know, we all access a variety of supports to achieve our envisioned good lives. Historically, planning for a person's or a family's supports around disability focus mainly on like government funded or specialized services, and often left out like the many assets and resources that, you know, could be leveraged to meet a person's needs. So the integrated support star principle serves as a reminder that everyone accesses a variety of supports to meet their day-to-day needs, to support the achievement of long-term or short-term goals, to solve problems, or to enhance their quality of life. So here's the visual, the integrated support star, and I'll show you in a minute. This is literally a fillable PDF. It is a worksheet. I'll talk more about that, but the integrated support star encourages accessing 5 main areas of supports. So over here in the corner, eligibility specific, so public or privately funded and based on eligibility. Community based, so community places or services that are available to anyone. Faith-based organizations, healthcare facilities, groups, membership organizations like gyms, for example, local services, etc. There's our relationships, which can be close relationships or can be acquaintances or people within our, you know, networking within our jobs, things like that. We have technology. We'll talk more about this. It doesn't have to be high tech. It can be a variety of things. And then the personal strengths and assets that the individual and the family brings. So I'm going to slide over here and just show you what the fillable PDF looks like. And I will be sharing out a copy of these slides as a PDF, but also links to these. And if you want to look at one right away, I can drop it in the chat. This is the one that's on our website, but there's also one on the Disability Hub website, as well as LifeCourse tools. The integrated support star really helps us organize and generate ideas. So that can be done using this actual tool, or just by remembering all these 5 points and organizing and planning and problem solving in our minds or in our conversations. So all of that to say that completing the star simply for the sake of completing the tool is not really the goal. The tool is designed to help you have like an interactive conversation and visually organize thoughts and ideas. The star can be used for a variety of purposes, including like making day-to-day decisions or for planning for the future. It can really help when having conversations with other support team members, and help with talking about hard topics or generating new ideas. There is no sort of place that you have to start on here. That can be organic, whatever seems most useful for you. And it's really designed to like help expand our ideas and explore how to leverage and connect the different types of supports in our lives. Just a reminder that anytime we're having a conversation about someone's life or future, it's really personal. So it's important to recognize and be responsive to the diversity of experiences, situations, and reactions when planning. You know, we would never be doing this for anyone. We would always are planning with individuals and their families, and doing our best to recognize our biases and not make assumptions. I don't see any questions, but I'll pause for a second before we move on to each piece of the star and dive a little deeper. So as I said, there's no sort of right place to start. This is just the order that my slides are in. But when we're talking about existing supports or planning, this piece is the relationships area. And I encourage everyone to use the chat to be kind of interactive here. And so if I'm thinking about my family or my daughter, who are the people in our lives that offer us support? And that could be companionship, emotional support. It could be transportation. It could be a connection with a job or a camp. So for us, because my daughter's 13, her parents are huge in terms of offering direct support. So activities of daily living, but also companionship and emotional support. Her brother does the same. We have extended family that also help with childcare and transportation and companionship and emotional support. Terry has added PCAs and paras, huge. Elizabeth has added grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, bus drivers, paras, teachers, DAPE instructor, PT, OT providers, doctors, family, friends. This is true for my daughter as well. And I think I'm glad that you all brought up the school piece. Debbie says brothers who are intentionally also direct support. I have an example for the acquaintance category, and I apologize to people who know me because they've heard this, but my daughter built this really sweet connection with when she was in kindergarten and first grade with the maintenance person at the elementary school because he also drove the lawnmower, and she had a borderline obsession with lawnmowers. And so it ended up being a really bright part of her day, and school could be really hard for her. So it was important for her to have those bright spots. And when she left that school, he gave her a little miniature replica of the lawnmower. And I always loved seeing that on her little shelf, and just a nod to that connection. It was an acquaintance, but it was a big highlight for her. Erin says pastor and Sunday school teachers. I think for a lot of families, faith and spirituality are huge. So thank you for bringing that up. So there's sort of endless connections we can make. And when if you're deciding to fill out these forms or use the worksheet, there's also space for thinking about who else we might bring in. And so you could either color code it or split the star in half and say, hey, I haven't used the neighbors yet, but maybe they could help with feeding the cats when we have this, like whatever it is. So it's, there's this aspect of what's already there and also what could be. So the next point on the star that we're going to talk about is personal strengths and assets. And this is probably my favorite one, although I'll admit that it was kind of, difficult for me the first time to think about my daughter's strengths and assets because she was younger and I wasn't sure, how is she supporting herself, but quickly becomes an activity, or quickly became an activity that I loved. So thinking about an individual, what are their personal strengths and interests? What are the resources that they have or that they can access, and what are their skills? So for my daughter, she is very curious and very engaging. Her skills, she is excellent with technology. She can make a phone call on an iPad and can navigate most of our technology devices much better than I can. Feel free to include here, family assets if that feels helpful. My daughter is also highly engaged by music and has a lot of emotional intelligence. I'm encouraging everyone else, please, to share things that are coming up for them. And you don't have to tell us who you're thinking about. It could be yourself, it could be your family, it could be someone that you know, but just to share some of the things that come up when you're thinking about how we support ourselves, or how the individual we're thinking about what they bring to the table. Terry says, creative with stories and art. I love that. And a trivia buff. I'm jealous about that. Contentment, strength, and simplicity. That's huge, Debbie. Other people have things to add here? I think there's no like sort of how big or how small this needs to be. So even just thinking about assets, my daughter having my old iPhone, without a phone number, but with Wi-Fi allows her to, call people and stay connected. Things like that. Well, I encourage you to keep adding. The technology supports, I think what's important to think about with technology is it's not always high tech. Things like a medication organizer and a simple timer are huge pieces of technology in this house that support my daughter, but also me as a parent. So what are some technology pieces that you use in your life or your family uses or the individual that you're thinking about? Do you think coffee is a technology? Phones? I think as parents, well, I'll speak for myself, as frustrated as I can get with my kids getting overly fixated on technology, I can't tell you how often I'm just grateful, especially like during the pandemic and keeping us connected. Erin said, would electric wheelchair count? Absolutely. I mean, that's huge. Elizabeth shared, my daughter loves to use Alexa. Yes. She asks about weather, the date, time. However, she also knows how to add items to the Amazon cart. So purchasing settings are crucial. Terry says, my son uses video games to communicate with friends as social situations are hard. I think I was surprised to see how much social interaction my kiddos got from playing video games. So at school, my daughter uses talk to text. I imagine there's a variety of apps. I'm a huge user of my calculator and my maps app. Terry added, I use text with my daughter when she's upset and it gives her time to process. It's a good life hack. I like that. So technology can be personal, it can be environmental. So designed to help a person navigate or adapt to their environment, or assistive technology. So just low tech devices that assist people with day-to-day tasks. So the next point in the star is community resources. This can be businesses, faith-based communities, parks and rec, sort of things that are available to everyone. Government resources, so social programs, local services. I've been thinking about my kiddo primarily here, but encourage all of you to continue in the chat for what comes up for you when you think about the community supports in your life or in someone's life. I know my family does a lot. My kiddos do a lot of recreational sports, but also like music programs that are open to the community. We really love those booklets that tell us what our community ed offerings are. We use a lot of those, as well as YMCA groups. And someone already mentioned youth leaders and a pastor, so I know church is coming up. We certainly are, we have some medical complexity in our life, and so healthcare facilities are an area that we find ourselves a lot. What's coming up for all of you? we're kind of lucky in Minnesota with the amount of recreation that's around. But my family uses a lot of different parks and walking paths and things as well. Again, feel free to add stuff. Very added. I find community rec stuff are hard for teens. We use them more as kids. It's good perspective. We have not used, but I've heard of like the friendship groups in some areas. So this brings us to the eligibility specific supports. So that would be disability specific or needs-based supports. I know many of us have been talking about school, so special education and IEPs are in there. Would anyone like to share what eligibility specific supports they have available in their lives or for their loved ones? Special education and waivers. Supported work environments. So I was thinking about organizations like Hope Kids, and this is where the star is sort of up to you. Like that might fit under community supports, but also it is eligibility specific. Special Olympics, with the process for my daughter applying for that was pretty rigorous. So I would definitely put it under eligibility specific. Debbie says we use a waiver, but essentially for care. So again, feel free to continue to add. But you know, that's just going through all the different points on the integrated support star. And the integrated support star, excuse me, guys, really asks us to diversify where our supports are for our family and for a person. Because we know that when we rely, for example, only on eligibility-based supports, that often that will put an individual without resources or feeling segregated, having a lack of choice or autonomy in their lives, and really just feeling isolated and bored. And similarly, the same thing can happen if we're only relying on family, and we don't spread that out. And we also know that that can be really difficult on family members as well. So this example that I'm about to show is from one of the trainers over at the Charting the LifeCourse Nexus, which is in the University of Kansas City, Missouri. But she's just showing an example of how they used the Charting the LifeCourse integrated support star to map out her son Ben's daily routine, and then how they used it to make some adjustments to make to again diversify things. So this is an example of before. So they filled out the star and found that his day was filled mainly with this PCA care for the bulk of the day, and then mom and dad support for the rest of the day. And so not a lot of interest-specific activities and not a lot of variety. And then she shared this one. So when they really went in and intentionally talked about what has been able to do, recognized that he did have the ability to stay home with some certain supports for a short amount of time when they use technology, and then that he had some interest in some specific community-based things, and that they had other relationships that they could leverage. And then you can see that they used that to really make sure that there was a variety of activities in his life and a variety of people that he's building relationships and spending time with, and people that are offering transportation and supervision. This is just another example of how the support star was used. So this was specific to a 45-year-old man who lived at home with his family, who had a traumatic brain injury from a car accident when he was a teenager, and received all of his support from his parents, but his parents were aging, and they had a recent diagnosis for his father of terminal cancer. And so this was the integrated support star that they created by bringing his mother, who's 90, together, and his sister, who's long distance. So she joined virtually, and their case manager, and did a plan for ongoing and future supports. And I think this scenario hits home, I imagine, for most of us who are parents here, as we probably regularly think about what would we do. I will share that recently I was in the hospital for an extended stay that was unexpected. And while we really had to think about the relationships that we had, and think about making a lot of adjustments to the daily supports that my family got, but also for me, who can come in from out of town, who can watch the kids, what can we miss? You know, those type of things. So just an example of using the star to really brainstorm making some changes to supports. So I'm going to open it up to questions and scenarios in a minute, but I did just want to plug that we have some upcoming what are called Good Life groups for parents, which is just a collaborative group. We don't record like we are today, of parents or anyone who's in like a parent-like role, and where we just get together, get to know each other, learn about, in this case, the integrated support star like we're covering today, and then practice together, throw out our scenarios and brainstorm together and practice using the tools. This is the first time we're doing this for the integrated support star. I'm pretty excited. We've done, I think, 2 of these in the past. I might be mistaken, but they're always really fantastic. And so if you're a parent, I encourage you to join us. And if you are in a professional role, then I encourage you to share this out. I can send a flyer out with the review of materials from this webinar if that's helpful. And then again, these links will go out, sort of where can you, if you're interested, find out more about Charting the Life Course. And there's a couple of different places and ways to do that, including the Family Voices of Minnesota website. If you're familiar with the Disability Hub, they've got Charting the Life Course tools and activities infused in their website as well. And then the actual Life Course tools website. All right, everyone's been quiet. My voice is going to go. So just encourage folks to share questions or ideas that they had, or anything that you thought of that I might miss. I think I'm going to stop recording.